Welcome back to Remembering Smallville,
a Smallville rewatch podcast.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Kim.
And I'm Brett.
Everyone, I'm so glad to be back for another fun episode of Smallville.
Whoop whoop!
I wanted to talk about another relatable subject to this episode, so let's get into it. What do you think of when somebody mentions the military or any branch of the military or war hero, things like that? What are thoughts that come into your mind?
I just have so much respect. I love this country, my country that I get to live in with all the freedoms that we have. So I just have so much respect for those guys and the fact that they can protect us in ways that I cannot protect my family. So I love it. I think they're beautiful.
I think of my brother. My brother's in the military, has been for over 20 years. Don't want to share too much about him because he's got all sorts of level of clearance, but he's a good guy, and he really is a good example of what we would want out of people that serve in the military.
That's awesome. What about you, Cully?
I have the deepest respect for people who choose to go fight and serve our country. It blows my mind. Whenever I hear the national anthem, I literally cry every time I hear it. And there's a moment in the episode when Jonathan says, "Clark, get over yourself. Go to Whitney's welcome home party," because he served our country. And I loved that. And then Clark has this moment where he's talking about, would he be brave enough to do something like that? Because Whitney and all these military members are not bulletproof, but they still choose. And made me emotional because I was like, oh, Jonathan, the patriotism, it's so good. I loved it so much.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for the military. I wanted to join it a few times in my life.
What branch?
Air Force or just Army, I thought about, but mostly Air Force. Whenever I see our military members, I try to thank them for what they have to do. It's a really great thing. I love books where the military is involved. Like one of my favorite book series is The Expeditionary Force.
Oh, my favorite.
It's a really good series. You should read it, but there's like heavy military stuff in it. I do sometimes kind of feel like it's different now. In World War II, men signed up to fight to defend a great cause, and now it's harder to justify that for them. It's more like they're joining it for help in college or help getting started in life, you know?
Travel the country.
And it's great that it does that. Mm-hmm. But we live in a different world where you don't have threats to America the same way that we did even 20 years ago. I mean, how many people have forgotten about 9/11? Mm-hmm. I feel like the media has tried to memory hole that so hard. We are in such a peacetime ourselves right now. We just don't really understand what it's like to be in war. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting that we are in an episode where we get hit really hard with that. What would it be like if we had people going off and fighting for this country? And Whitney is one of those that chose to.
This episode's so weird because it's not really about Whitney.
But it is.
But it is.
Yeah.
And you think, like I thought it was, right?
So,
and it opens with a big war scene.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is, we assume, really what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because Whitney walks into this cloud and that's the last you see of him in the military.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what we're talking about today.
So let's get into
Let's
it.
get into it. I told a joke on a Zoom meeting, and no one laughed. It turns out I'm not remotely funny. Now, if you laughed at that, you should follow us at Remembering Smallville on Instagram. If you didn't laugh because this is a terrible joke, you should follow us on at Remembering Smallville. Season 2, Episode 11, Visage.
In this episode, Whitney returns to Smallville, hoping to start where he left off with Lana. But his suspicious behavior prompts Clark to question his motives, which reveals a shocking truth. And there's a bunch of kissing. There's kissing all over the place. There's one of my favorite things about this episode is that pretty much everyone got to play Tina.
Yes.
You know?
Oh my gosh. I was explaining this to Bentley because she didn't watch it with us. And she goes, she came back. Did they kiss?
So let's get into this first scene, which I know Kim and Nicole are going to be all about. There is
Wet t-shirt, white t-shirt. Yeah, I'm all about it.
I was like, oh.
leaky pipe. They're trying to fix it. Clark, in his superhuman strength, decided actually to break it first, so water's spraying everywhere. So this is his most creative excuse yet. Go get the wrench. So she actually has something she's looking for. And then he uses his heat vision to melt it. And I leaned over to Kim right when we saw this, and I said, "That poor plumber that has to work on this next."
I wrote that down. I wrote that down in my notes.
And he's like, "What happened? It melted."
Oh my gosh, can you imagine? And Clark's lie, when she comes back and she's like, "Oh, you fixed it. How?" And he's like, "Oh, I just kept twisting and turning until it stopped." That is so much better of a lie and believable than, well, it just stopped. You know, like, which is what he probably would have said a year ago.
So the camera pans up his stomach and chest. Like it
Literally
blows up.
slow motion over every eye. And then
Lana's eyes pan up his chest.
Kim, why don't you reenact Lana for us? Just through your microphone. What is she doing here?
Oh man, I can't make the sounds that she would be thinking of.
You see her like
too hot.
She's already wet, and you can like feel her sweating through the screen.
She's
just like
you know how to keep warm? We take off our clothes and snuggle.
You're right. It's just survival 101.
It's just really setting up Lana's future confliction that she's eyeing Clark with all this lust in her heart.
And it's super cute and actually very innocent. It wasn't gross. We made
Oh, yeah.
It was really cute. And they're doing some flirting. Like, I've missed you because you're living at Chloe's house, and the people who moved into your aunt's house aren't quite as fun because
have
all
a
I have is a cat. And then Lana talks about, actually, they sent Whitney's stuff back because, as you remember from the last episode, he's missing in action. That's weighing on my heart. I guess they sent the stuff back to his mom, and then Whitney's mom gave Lana her necklace back.
And I was like, oh, the necklace.
And so the green necklace is back.
it's back.
And as we pop into the next scene, we get the very typical early 2000s style camera work for military stuff. So military shows and movies that were coming out around this time are like Band of Brothers and like Black Hawk Down. If you watch those same cinematography as this scene.
Grainy and gritty.
Yeah, it's like that grainy, like very gray. There's like a gray filter over it a bit that like kind of grays things out, tones down all the colors. It's like there's a bit of a higher frame rate than the rest of the show has that they've used. It's very with the times of those particular war movies.
Weren't messing around with
But
those.
it is heavy stuff. It's pretty wild for a season 2 Smallville episode. Like, you see a lot of crap like this later.
Did it feel out of place to anybody else?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
was
mind
very
it, but
surprised.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah. So I love that it's maybe foreshadowing for future. I didn't know. That's exciting.
I wanted to know, before we really delve deep into the episode, Kim, at what point did you realize Whitney was dead?
Okay, I know the exact point. When he decides to murder the man that comes to tell his mom that he's passed.
Well, he changes back into shut up and back into Tina.
So
Well,
right before that.
Right before that, you knew something
Yeah,
was
because
up.
I'm like, he's coming to tell her something. And I'm like, why would you tie up your mom? At first, I thought it was PTSD.
Okay.
Then I was like, no, there's got to be something else. And then he's a murderer.
Yeah.
Right? And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, what is going on?
So in this scene when he's in war, were you being like expecting him to survive and come back, or were you expecting him to die?
I thought for sure he would come back for a couple more episodes. So I thought that the big explosion was like to trick us that he died, but he really didn't. So then when he came back, I was like, okay, he'll be here for a little while. Then he started acting weird. But you know, I'm not a big fan of Whitney, but I think it shows his character. He joins the military, right? He's fighting for his country, takes his fellow soldier, and he tries to save him. And I was like, what a great last scene for Whitney. I didn't know it was his last scene. But I'm like, oh, might as well die doing a good thing. You know?
And luckily for the actor, it's not the actor's last scene. You know,
Right.
he gets
But it's a fun.
fun.
It really does complete Whitney's arc, his character arc, right?
Yeah.
He went from being
Yes.
the bully to he dies a hero. And
Yes.
that's really kind of something where you go, okay, good. Here, like Whitney himself actually had a good character arc, and then for the actor to say, great, I got to end that character and do something fun and be the villain again in the same episode. Kind of a cool thing for an actor to say, great, I get to close out this character with a bang.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
What a great way to end it. So I'm going to rub my hands together because I love episodes like this because the actors are not really someone different. They have to act
Yeah.
like a different character. And the They do such a good job.
Yeah.
But when Tina went on the screen, I was like, dang, Tina, why are you back? I didn't know she would come back, but I was like, why would you put her in a facility? She can turn into anyone. So that never sat right with me.
A few things that we had a conversation when we watched this episode, Kim and I, is first, that very point is the last time when we watched Tina in her original episode, Kim finished that episode so upset that they just took her away because she could turn into everyone. And I was smiling to myself knowing that Tina would come back this way. So I was very excited about it.
You kept it such a good secret.
And so I just was like, oh, this is going to be so good when it comes up. So
I had no idea. Not a single idea that Tina would be back like this.
It was so fun to just see that come through. And she went, Tina's back. And that anger and frustration. So that was fantastic to see.
So let's dive in after the intro. So we're at the high school, and the kids are talking about how they're now being disillusioned because they're learning the truth about all of these historical figures.
That Betsy Ross didn't design the flag; she's just a glorified seamstress.
Yeah, or like that Alexander Graham Bell
stole the stuff.
Did you know like Thomas Edison probably stole it from Nikola Tesla? like there's all these things. Have you ever had that like disillusionment that happens when you learn the truth about somebody?
This might be too like political. When I found out that George Washington owned slaves, I was gutted. Like heartbroken.
But like, is it really that surprising? Because like most people did back
No,
then.
and I've learned that since then.
Oh.
I just thought it was all the bad people that own slaves, which
Right.
is my own delusion. That's so ridiculous. But as I become an adult, I'm like, oh, some of the people I really looked up to.
Well, it makes you wonder, like, in 200 years, are people going to be like, man, I can't believe people, like, had cell phones. Like, how horrible were they to, or so, like, I can't believe
no wonder they all died of cancer.
Yeah, right?
Pay for 7 different streaming services every month.
Yeah.
Those heathens.
You know, as people change, as technology changes, we get better hindsight. Of course, everything looks worse. You know,
Yes.
Right now we think everything's normal and fine, and we're better than the people in the past, but they were also better than the people before them, and so on and so forth.
And that's all you want for your kids and your posterity, right? Is just to move forward and become better.
Totally. But, oh man, to be a teenager and have to be like, oh man, I thought that this was how it is. Nope.
Well, the whole episode is sometimes people aren't what they seem.
Yeah,
That's the
it's
whole
literally
point.
the theme.
They talk about it all the time. That's why that moment of childhood sadness happens in the hallway,
Yes.
because it all connects.
Who hated this scene? Tell us what happens, Brett. I hated it. I growled.
So Clark and Lana are
Growled.
talking, and Clark finally gets up just a little bit of gumption to actually ask Lana out. And if initially she says no, and then he says,
Come on.
let's do this. And she does a little cute little smile, and she goes, okay, then, it's a date. And just then we see Whitney strolling down in his heroic walk through the hallway.
At first, it just
And the
shows
crowd parts.
his army his military pants. And I was like, oh, they're coming to say he died. And then they show his face, and I was like, ah!
He's back. She drops her books. She
Yeah.
runs to him. They embrace.
Ugh.
And Clark's like, F
Did you notice
me.
Clark didn't even pick up her books? He just walked away.
Yeah.
Couldn't handle it.
So did you know what branch in the military he was just by looking at the uniform?
It looked like he was a Marine.
Were you like, oh, that's Marine?
I did.
I do
dress.
now that I'm seeing him, but it didn't occur to me.
And Nicole was like, which one was that again? I was like, in my head, it was SEALs. SEALs.
I thought
like,
SEAL
like,
or
Marines
Marine.
are...
Yeah.
SEALs are the special forces of the Marines, you know,
Yep.
right? So,
So that's why you would have said SEAL, yeah.
I hated the parting of the crowd.
And then everyone just starts going back to their business.
Yeah.
Well, it is weird.
They just are looking.
Imagine you're in the hallway and the girl who runs the coffee shop that you've never really talked to, but she makes a good frappuccino, is chilling. This dude who's the super senior now has returned.
Yes.
Nobody
And she
even
runs to him.
hears that your books dropped. The halls are so noisy. Nobody would even know.
But running toward him and hugging and the
Maybe.
twirling, I think people would stop and stare
Some
at that.
people, but not
But you
everyone.
wouldn't but they wouldn't part for him.
True.
They wouldn't part for him then. Like, I mean,
That's
not,
true.
not saying it shouldn't happen.
They have a great respect for military in that town. There's like, oh, someone in uniform.
Right. I'm not saying they shouldn't have that respect, but if you've been around high school kids, there's no way.
There
There
weren't.
is no
People
way
didn't
they
have cell
should.
phones. They were really looking around at the crowds back then.
Yeah, you'd have like the 3 ROTC kids being like, everybody, you know. But anyway, it was
Did
silly.
you know our kids' charter school has an amazing ROTC program?
Yes, I did.
Just thought I'd, tell you.
Yeah, they did a really good flag ceremony when I went to that
Oh, yeah, the
basketball
game.
game.
Little
Mhm.
shameless plug there.
So next scene, we're at the Kent farm. And this is where Nicole was talking about when Jonathan really lays down how Clark should be respectful.
This surprised me. I don't know why. Just that he would take that tone with. He's usually on Clark's side.
Yeah.
But I loved it.
Yeah, it's pretty rare that they actually have to like parent.
Come on, Clark.
Hard parent Clark, you know?
Yeah.
I loved it because we don't see a lot of this, and I love that this is the way that they teach Clark. Like, no, you will get over this, and you will be there. And Clark goes, "Oh, this is when they're serious. This is my." Because he's so respectful, they don't have to yell at him. They don't have to do these things. I mean, we know Clark is special, but this is to me a really happy moment as a parent, seeing this is how they've been able to teach him and raise him this way. Is they know, they speak all lovingly, they're always caring about him, and this is where they say, "I'm drawing a line on this," and he knows, "Oh, I don't. This is where I know the line is. I've crossed it." And he didn't have to yell or scream or belittle him, but nope, this is it, and you're gonna go. Oh, okay.
What a great parenting lesson for all of us, right? Pick and choose your battles so that when it's time and it's an important battle, then your kids actually listen because you're not yelling at them all the time every day.
Mm-hmm. Lana and Whitney have embraced in the hallway. I am assuming she doesn't go to the rest of school. They go back to his house for milk and cookies, their traditional welcome home meal for broken up couples. Whitney doesn't
know.
Which Whitney doesn't remember. He says that he's had a head injury or was in some type of scuffle in the fields of West Virginia, wherever he was, because
Indonesia?
it didn't look like he was in the Middle East.
Indonesia?
Is that where he was?
Yeah.
Where does it say that?
It was words on the screen.
When they started the military.
Did
Yeah,
it say
see?
that?
Yeah.
Indonesia.
It says it's in Indonesia.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, like when that scene pops up, where they're in like the war scene.
It has like a subtitle of where they are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It says like somewhere in Indonesia,
oh.
something like that.
So Whitney's been in Indonesia. He's home now. He's craving some American grub. Milk and cookies at the Fordman's house with Lana.
And
Got it.
He's craving
And he
Lana with
doesn't
his cookies.
know
Yes.
that this baffled me. He does not know they broke up.
And she's like trying to tell him, but doing a terrible job of it. Like, I don't want to hurt his feelings. Just hurt them
The
and
communication
leave.
in the show kills me.
Oh,
Drives
I
me nuts.
know.
There's no plot without lack of communication.
Just give him a hug. It's
yeah,
okay.
she just like kind of hugs and evades and doesn't end up telling him at all in this scene. So the scene is ultimately worthless, except we know.
They ate milk and
They
cookies,
ate milk and
and
cookies.
he has a head injury.
He totally
Yeah.
got the duck and hug too.
Yeah, he did.
He went in for a kiss, duck and hug. Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had that, anyone? The duck and hug.
I've
yourself?
done it.
You've done it.
I have. I have not had it.
Coley, did you ever do it?
Yeah, I've also been rape kissed, as I call it. When
Oh.
a person just like kisses you and you're like, I
Didn't even have time to react.
no.
What?
Like when they're in and out really fast, you're like, well, that happened.
You're like, we just touched elbows because that's all that was. Like it's
Essentially.
Just like,
And I'm really short, so they had to do a lot of acrobatics to get there.
It's true. She's 4'11", so
he was that fast.
Yes.
Wow.
It was a girl's choice dance. Took him home. I dropped him off at his door because I was the date. And he like kissed me really quick, and I was like, okay, bye.
Would it have been a welcome kiss?
No.
Oh.
Because if it was, I would have, been a participant.
Would have been a participant.
But would you have participated if you went slower?
No.
Okay.
I probably would have
So
done
you were rape
I would have done, I would have done like, the duck and turn hug thing. Maybe like you get a cheek in there because you're like, you can't get away far enough, but they get the cheek and you're like, oh, okay. But no, he was really fast. Like a
Wow.
mamba.
so I never kissed a girl unless I got the signs. You know,
But you weren't
You
the
had to-
asking type. You would
No,
just read the signs.
I just read the signs, and if it felt right, I'd kiss her. But one girl was giving him hard and did the duck and turn to me.
And you were like, were you teasing me this whole time?
Basically, yeah.
Wow.
I got it from my first girlfriend. We'd already kissed, but I found out after that we were only allowed to kiss when nobody else was present. So
Oh.
Okay, listen, no. Every time they would kiss, she would like go through this guilt for like weeks.
I got church and scriptures sent to me after kissing that
With
it was
tongue.
like, It was not. I'm not sliding the person. I'm
one
sure
time,
she's a great person, but
this is the kid on our first date. He was our waiter, you and I, okay?
yeah.
I one time took him to a dance, and we slept over at a friend's house. Of course, our parents didn't know. I slept next to him and, like, cuddled with him. Did not kiss him. Did not do anything romantical the whole time. I felt so bad.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Tip my cap to you, babe.
But that was the slippery slope that led to Bryn being born. Anyway, just kidding.
Don't be kidding. It's true.
So after we deal with the whole milk and cookies, we get into the B plot.
I love this B plot, and I love her. Who loves
Dr. Helen Bryce?
Yes.
I don't.
I think she's good for Lex.
I
You
don't.
don't? Why?
I don't know. I just don't like her.
So there's no reason in the story.
No.
I think she's so good for him. I just think
She does
puts
push
him,
back on him a lot.
yeah, in his place. And she's like, well, if you don't want me, then too bad. Like, he's always had women fling themselves on him. And she's like, no, if I feel like being with you, I will. And
He
if I
actually
don't,
has
I won't.
to work for her.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I don't like her baggy scrubs.
But do you think she's pretty? I think she's gorgeous.
Yeah, she's pretty.
She's definitely pretty. Yeah.
She's the I said this before, but I'll say it again. She's like the mysterious woman in Secondhand Lions.
Yeah.
From the story.
Ooh.
So basically,
tell us
what's
what
happened is that he was tailing his father, as he does right now, because they're in, a war, a big feud, and happens to get pictures of her with his dad. And he goes straight to the blame game and says, I can't believe you're colluding with him. And then I looked further and you had $100,000 sent to your bank account.
How do you know what someone gets added to their bank account?
I don't know. He's got some impressive
feel like Lex
spies.
can
I
do
He
guess.
must have paid
anything.
someone off.
Yeah.
I hate when Lex gets into this business mode.
Well, yeah, it's
No
when
matter
the,
who he
it's when
loves.
the Luther comes out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's when his father comes
turns
out in
me
him.
off real hard.
And so she's like, I'm not even going to deal with this. Bye. So we don't get no explanation and everything, and the B plot will continue later. So we get to the Talon. And this is now the actual celebration of the hero's welcome. And Whitney be acting weird.
Yeah. Whitney's got a lot of weird jealousy going on in this Talon scene with Clark. And Lana says a couple times, we're just friends. We've only ever been friends.
Which confused me because before he left, he asked Clark to watch over Lana.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like he doesn't remember this.
Right. He's got a major head trauma all the way back to before then.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, technically, if you lose memories, you could lose them way far back.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they're very selective
Usually-
memories.
Yeah, it's usually short term, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not like a deep spike goes back through the memories of just a few of them, and then
Yeah.
everything else around it is fine. It's not that simple.
Did you notice Chloe's cute new streaks in her hair?
Yes.
Do you remember
the
back
red
in
streaks?
the day? Yeah, you had blonde hair and you would just do chunks just
Mm-hmm.
randomly. And she has chunks of dark streak. It's so cute. I liked it.
So then we get back to the high school, and Clark confronts Lana about what he saw Whitney doing in the Talon bathroom.
Yeah, Whitney's like, get it together, man, in the stupidest, tiny mirror. Why is that bathroom like the worst thing I've ever seen?
I don't know.
That bathroom is horrible. Like sinks in a circle in the middle with tiny mirrors. Men want to look good too. Why are the mirrors so small?
I don't know. Maybe Smallville men.
Maybe
don't need
that's why
mirrors.
Whitney gets so pissed he rips the door off the bathroom.
'Cause he can't see how good he looks.
And Clark comes in and is like, whoa. And I guess Clark just stands in the bathroom for the rest of the night and thinks. Because
Because the next thing you see is him just confronting Lana only at school. He didn't go up to her
at
in
the
at night.
Talon, yeah.
And here's what bugs me about Lana. We've talked about this, okay? She never believes Clark.
I know.
And how many times is he there for her? It's so annoying.
But here's my question. When Clark confronts Lana at the high school, is it Lana or is it Tina?
I wondered that.
It's not explicit
Oh.
at all. But I wondered that because it
It's a
doesn't
little out of character.
because
Well, kind of.
I think it was Lana.
I think it was
There's
Lana.
no reason for us to think otherwise.
does.
Lana has
all the
a
time.
history of this. Oh my gosh, Clark, look what you did. What?
Without
It's
even
true.
getting his side, I hate it. So it
Which
could be
is
though.
the same thing as what Lex is doing to Helen.
Exactly.
But yeah, Whitney tells. It's so out of character though. When have you seen Clark act out in a rage and break something that anyone knows?
Right.
But Whitney has.
That's why I kind of had this thought. I wonder if it was Tina trying to intercept him, and drive him off of Lana so that she could have Lana all to herself.
It's possible, but I mean,
It's not
history
necessarily
is-
explicit.
No, but history says that that's Lana being Lana.
So now we go to the next scene.
The most trauma of all time.
This is the craziest
Yeah, this
scene.
Whitney's mom probably gets the most trauma of anyone in Smallville right
Yeah.
here. Like, this is horrible. The whole sequence. Just imagine that
It horrified me.
Your kid has died. You don't know that yet, but your kid comes home alive,
After you've been worried sick that he's missing.
and then everything's fine. And then your kid kills somebody in front of you and then starts torturing you. Turns out it's not your kid. Turns out your kid's dead.
And not just kills, beats him with a bat. And
It's
your
blood.
child is covered in blood.
blood
and
all
then
over his face.
ties you up.
Yeah.
Just. Oh.
Insane. And what's crazy is that scene ends and,
And
you
you
still
still-
think it's Whitney.
Yes. I was like, what's going
Yeah,
on?
at that point, I was like, oh, yeah, it's Tina, huh?
had
That's
no
what you
idea.
remembered.
Because I'd forgotten that it wasn't.
That's kind of
So
fun
you thought
for
it was
you.
Whitney all the
That's
way up
fun
until
for
then.
you.
Yeah, well, kind of, yeah. So I hadn't watched this episode since the first time I watched it when I was like 16.
Okay.
And so it's been a long time. Because I usually skip a lot of seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4 when I rewatch the show.
That's how Brett is.
And so
You guys
I
are
just,
missing out. Look at how much fun we're having.
I know, we're having a lot of fun. I'm having fun analyzing and watching it like this. If I were just to watch it, I don't think I'd have as much fun. I would just want to skip it all.
It's once
because
it's
I
the
just get
first
so
time.
excited about what's to come
Yeah.
that I
See, me,
don't
I'm
care.
having a blast because I'm like, this is the first time I've seen it,
Yeah.
This is great. So, so this next scene, we have Whitney and Lana at the stables.
At this point, I'm so creeped out by him. I'm like, you just murdered someone. Your mom is tied up. What is going on?
Okay, so we have an 18, 19-year-old that goes to a sophomore and says, why don't we move in together?
So weird.
It's so
Like,
cringy.
they make it this thing in the episode, but there's a definite cause for concern here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another point, and I'm going to bring this up a couple times for you, Nicole. Freaking Nell. Somehow she's still sporting this horse
I
stable
know.
for Lana's horses.
And she never goes to it anymore.
Never goes anymore. And I'm going to bring up Nell a couple times in this episode because there's a lot that Lana deals with. Where is Nell? She's just in Metropolis, and Nell is the mother figure
Nell's
that will
on her
never show up
honeymoon
anywhere.
in San Tropez with Dean or something.
It's a thing.
Tropez.
Nell is.
I don't even know where San
She's
Tropez
neglecting
is,
her
but it's
duties
too
as a
far.
parent. Lana isn't grown up. Even though Kristen Kruk is like 20-something right now, that doesn't mean Lana is more than a 17-year-old girl. Maybe
Teens
16.
are really
16. She's a
stupid.
sophomore,
16 right now.
15 turning 16.
Yeah.
So she's turning 16. So she might still be 15, but there's
Stop
no
saying
Nell.
that.
There's
It's the
no-
truth, Nicole.
There is no Nell to show up and say, "Oh my goodness, your boyfriend
best
died,"
friend.
or "Oh my goodness, you're
And
dealing
you know
with
what's
this."
crazy? Let's say that Lana didn't send that letter and she never broke up with Whitney. She would have said yes, probably, because girls be infatuated.
Yeah. Especially 16-year-old girls.
You know
Oh,
what I'm
yes,
saying?
let's
Like,
totally get married.
let's say she just was like, I'm in it for Whitney. When he gets home, we're gonna be together. Okay, he's home. She'd have been like, yes, let's do it. Let's get married. It'll be great. My parents were young. Everyone was young when they got married. Let's get married. Let's do it.
Heck-
And Tina would have been like, yeah.
When I was 15, I went to a high school football game when I was 15. And there was this cheerleader that I really had a huge crush on the second I saw her at the game. I asked her to marry me, and she said yes.
Are you that same day?
What?
No, yeah, we were just like, I was just on the sideline, and she was cheering. And
You
I
just
can't remember,
yelled out
I can't remember
to
what her
her.
name was.
Did you just like yell
But
out,
I-
"Marry me," and she said yes, or
No,
what?
yeah, I told her, like, I knew her name somehow. I don't know how. But I said, hey, like, I don't remember what her name was. Mary, will you marry me? And she said, of course.
Aw, that's so cute.
Ew, I hate her.
I never saw her again.
Good.
And then
now
how
you know
many,
why. Good work, Nicole.
Do you know how
Yeah.
many girls like you'd text and you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, we're totally meant to get let's get married one day," and they'd be like,
Yes.
"Of
I have said that
course."
to a lot of people.
Like,
Yes.
I did not.
oh, okay.
Really?
Well,
I did.
all the
Well-
time I did.
Yeah, because you're like, I will be that one couple that are the high school sweethearts, and we will be married forever.
My friends were
Sure,
still are married.
sure. Yeah,
they
it
got
happens.
They dated. They were the only people they ever dated, and they're just been together ever since.
Yeah, so I mean, it's totally a teenage girl thing, but Lana's taken it very seriously for a teenage
And I'm
girl.
proud of her for being like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
But we're not
Yes.
even at the proposal yet. He's proposing to move in together, not even get married yet.
They haven't even touched pieces yet. Why would they? Come on.
You didn't touch pieces before you married Daniel.
That's true.
Yes.
Don't give your boyfriend husband
Privileges?
privileges when they're just a boyfriend.
It's very unique of us.
But then we
There was probably plenty of zipper sparking, though.
Oh my
Jeez.
gosh.
For the record, Brett and I also waited, and it's the way to go.
I agree. So speaking of waiting, Lex waited to
Good segue, Daniel.
tell Clark all about this while playing a game of pool. At the mansion is the next scene, and like Lex and Clark are playing pool, and Lex is just totally not doing it because he's all broken up about it. He doesn't realize he's heartbroken. Probably he's just mad, and he's talking to Clark, and Clark's like, well, "Why don't you just ask for her side?" And Lex is like,
Door.
I can do that. That's a thing." You know, like that's basically his reaction.
My whole life I've been taught just to pay
Accuse
people
people.
to do things and find out information and make assumptions. Okay, well, that's probably why you have no healthy relationship.
And then we get the theme of the episode, which is Clark. People are seldom who they appear to be.
Oh, I know. First, Clark and Lex, they would be friends just when they saw each other places. I love seeing them hang out in the mansion.
Yeah, you don't often get just like them chilling and discussing life.
Yeah.
But Clark's quandary is, I think Whitney has PTSD. Let's get him some help. And Lionel's like, yeah, I know
Lex.
somebody. Lex says, yeah, I know somebody who can help him out. Let me give you his number. If it was me, I'd be like, crash and burn, Whitney, because Lana's not super into you.
Yeah.
But then again, I would want to help like
Then
someone
again,
with
you're not
PTSD.
Clark.
So
And Clark he's got to save everyone in every way he can too.
Yeah.
Um,
So what happens? This scene is creepy. So
The
creepy.
next scene.
And we find out what's actually going on.
yes, it's Tina Greer.
The mom is tied up, and Whitney is threatening his own mom, yelling in her face.
I need to have the right radio station on so I can listen to the right music with Lana. She needs to know it has to be
You
perfect.
guys, I was so creeped out by this point. I did not know what to think.
It literally was becoming a horror episode for Kim.
It's so
She was
scary.
like, what
So
is
scary.
going on?
So then Clark comes and is like, right? Doesn't he come
yeah,
to the
Clark
house?
comes by and he's like, Lex gave me the number of a PTSD specialist. Here you go.
Let me get you help.
and Whitney kind of blows him off just to get Clark to leave. So Clark leaves and thinks, I did my duty. I'm a good Boy Scout.
But then he's like, Whitney's acting so weird, and he decides, I'm gonna X-ray that boy.
Well, because
And what does he
Whitney
see?
throws him pretty far.
Yeah,
Well,
he's
I-
like, how is he so strong? Does he have something in
Well,
him?
Eddie wants to see what happens once that door closes. You got to look through the door.
Yeah,
You know?
that's true.
Why
too.
couldn't he have just kept X-raying and seen a woman tied up?
That's what I thought
Wiggling.
was going to happen. I was
I think
so
he
mad.
got distracted by the kryptonite-infused skeleton.
Yeah.
I think he would have looked further had he looked normal.
True, like without
Very true.
skeletal, just like through the wall.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's true.
But he saw the crypto skeleton green goo.
And that makes him think of who?
Tina Greer.
Because that's the
Yes.
only person he's ever seen.
With that type of
Does he just
skeleton?
X-ray every person?
Maybe he
I
does.
would.
I would too, actually.
Trust issues to be like everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he knows. And he's like, ah, shit.
And then we see Whitney turn into Tina for the
What
first
did you
time.
think, Kim?
I was like, Tina! It was. And
She
I was
really
like, of
did
course
scream.
It was Tina.
hilarious. She
Really?
screamed. Yeah.
Oh.
At least
I
it
was
makes
so
it so
surprised.
that Whitney isn't this terrible person.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It helps you. Yeah.
I can't tell you how happy Kim was about this episode. I mean, it was creepy and it freaked her out, all of these things. But happy that she could close the Whitney chapter and close the Tina chapter that was left open
it
from
was.
the previous season. It was like these two issues that for Kim were plot holes almost.
Right.
Like, why can we not? I need Whitney to be gone forever. I need Tina to actually have that chapter closed. And so this was a really cool thing.
Nicole, do you remember when you asked us who the best villains were?
Yeah.
And you said Tina?
Yeah.
I thought that was a little weird.
Okay.
I was like,
Now, do you
okay.
see it?
Oh. I was like,
Uh-huh.
that's why Nicole thought Tina was the best. Yeah, because this makes her by far
Well,
the
she's
creepiest.
being smarter too,
Mm-hmm.
because she's now impersonating a lot more people, a lot more in a timelier fashion. Because when we get to the next scene, Clark goes to the torch to tell Chloe and Pete, I think it's Tina.
And I did a little deep dive. In the torch, Chloe mentions, oh, so Tina's pulling a Martin Guerre? And I was like, who is that?
Yeah, that's what I
Who's
said.
heard of that person? Literally no one. So I looked it up.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Martin Guerre was a French peasant from the 16th century. It was a famous case of being an imposter. So several years after Martin Guerre had left his wife, child, and village, a man claiming to be him appeared. He lived with Guerre's wife and son for 3 years. Then, the false Martin Guerre was eventually suspected of impersonation. He was tried and discovered to be a man named Arnaud Dutil and was executed. The real Martin Guerre had returned during the trial, and the case continues to be studied today and be dramatized.
The wife believes that, takes her in as her husband.
He must have looked really close to
Yeah.
him. And if you're,
I'd be
I mean,
like, you
peasants
don't have
back then
that
were always
butt-cheek
covered in dirt,
birthmark?
so.
I don't know, but that's the reference that Chloe just knows off the top of her head.
I love that.
It's like in Monty Python when they're like, of course he's not a peasant. He ain't got shit all over him.
Or A Knight's Tale. That's exactly what
No,
he
that's
does
A
in
Knight's Tale. That's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So poor Pete gets the brunt of Tina posing as Lana. Clark and Pete try to tell Lana, look, it's probably Tina. Pete's going to watch over you. I'm going to go find Whitney/Tina. And then Pete mentions her being a freak, and that triggers her, and she beats Pete up.
Slams him pretty hard. Throws him head first into the
Dents it.
lockers.
Yeah, and his little feet dangle.
Yeah.
Well, I liked how, like, when she lifts him up by his shirt, it's not like he's being hurt. It's just his shirt. And he's like, you're kind of the worst. You know, like, oh, it's
Yeah.
you, Tina. Oh.
But it's fun to see Lana be like all tough in her eyes, and you can just, who you calling a freak?
Yeah, the acting, it's so good. I bet this was fun for them.
But something we forgot to note was that you're probably asking, how did Tina get out of the crazy facility?
Yes.
Is that she faked her own death and
Oh,
wrote a
yes.
suicide note that was like, I don't know who I am anymore.
And murdered someone to
Yeah.
do it.
And burned their body, and they just hadn't checked dental records because
Right.
Why would they?
small town trust suicide note body.
Just so you know, if you live in a place where there's a superhero, don't even expect the police to have any ability to do anything other than arrest the wrong person, maybe.
She would have killed one of the workers and then left as one of the workers.
Yeah, as that person. That's
Yeah.
what I
Right.
figured, yeah.
When we get back to the Fordmans, Clark uses his magic door opening finger.
Oh,
Just like, yeah.
Pop that lock right through.
That's a season 1 reference.
Stop
to our
popping
podcast.
lock. Pop that lock.
Yeah, he just uses that magic finger. Thunk. He finds Mrs. Fordman all tied up.
Oh,
And he rescues her. Thank you, Clark.
yeah.
meanwhile, Whitney has taken his mother's ring off her finger and proposes to Lana at the Talon, and she's like, no. And then he's like, it's because of Clark! You love Clark!
And she's like, no, I sent you a video and I tried to break up with you. It's not about Clark. We're just not ready for this.
But then he kind of checkmates her a bit by saying, admit to me that you don't have feelings for Clark. And she says, oh, I've got stuff to do.
And Whitney, aka Tina, thinks it is about Clark. Ooh, I gotta be Clark, because obviously she doesn't want Whitney, she wants Clark. And I know Clark's weakness, the necklace. So Whitney/Tina plays.
I did not see this coming.
Oh, really? Whitney/Tina says, okay, Lana, I accept that you don't love me and don't want to marry me. So can I just have the necklace for a memory? And Lana's like, okay. And she gives it to him.
Which, if we remember, this necklace is special to her because it was, even though it's really dark and twisted, is part of the meteor rock that killed her parents. So
Yeah.
to give that up is kind of a thing she's had it her whole life.
Well, I think that their part of it is that she feels guilty for having concealed the letter from Whitney from when the moment he got home, and so she's been, she
And she
probably
did give it. She gave it to him.
and she had
once.
already given it to him once. So
I guess.
why not let him have it for good?
So I knew he was going to do something, or she was going to do something to Clark. I did not expect that she would be like, oh, I'll just become Clark and love her that way.
Yeah, right. Tina impersonates Jonathan, and kudos to John Schneider's acting because, he plays Tina Jonathan so well.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so good. And
I like that he's wearing like the beige, the tan jacket because it really helps us distinguish because we're gonna get Clark v. Clark in a minute.
yeah,
I
so
know.
when Tina switches to Clark,
He's not in his Superman colors.
yes,
Yep.
which we've talked about. But when we get back to the Talon, we're back to the B plot. So all this real intense stuff is going on, and it's like, oh well, now let's kind of take a break for a minute and talk about this drama. And it turns out that Lionel had offered Helen money in order to break up, but it still went to her bank account. A little weird, a little
It
strange.
doesn't make any sense. Why would you, if someone says, no, go to hell, Luther, I don't want to be a part of your plot, but I'll take your money, bitch. Like, no one's doing that.
And
Yeah.
one thing I didn't get is he's like, when I asked you if you knew my dad, you said no. And she was like, I was just coming to tell you. Why didn't she just tell him then? So that was a little weird.
It's a
to
little
me.
convoluted. It's definitely a B plot because it doesn't super matter. All you need to know about Lex and Helen is that there's some trust issues and they're working on it.
And I loved how Lex got vulnerable and was like, hey, I've never felt this way about a woman, so I'm bad at it. And I thought it was cute.
I was married 3 months ago, but don't worry about it. It was poison.
She just wanted my money.
Yeah.
But lest we forget all the intensity that Clark is tied up in a storm cellar with kryptonite on his neck, we go back to it.
Yeah, we go back to it, and something cool happens. Babe, what happens in the storm cellar to
Clark?
his necklace?
His necklace starts speaking to his ship, or vice versa. The ship starts to glow, and we don't know why.
What do
Not
you
really,
think?
we don't have like a clear, this is exactly why the ship did this.
I feel like the meteor rock and the ship are from the same planet,
Yes.
maybe, or something, and so they are connected somehow.
They
I don't
are
know.
connected.
Mm-hmm.
The ship is reacting to the meteor rock.
The ship doesn't like it either
Oh, okay.
because
That didn't occur to me. That makes sense.
I mean, after the ship neutralizes the irradiated meteor rock, it's smoking.
Oh.
So to
Cooking
me,
over
that
there.
can't be a good thing.
It's hurt the ship somehow.
I think the ship is hurt.
And the ship, what, saves Clark?
Oh yeah, I don't think the ship saves Clark at all. I think the ship saves itself.
Okay.
It's reacting to this irradiated material.
How amazing.
And that's a really fun plot point. But then,
So now you get
This
Chloe.
is the worst part of the whole
Chloe gets to be Tina.
and like she did a good job at a Tina that is unhinged and messing up now. She was
And
like,
smelling panties. No.
Here's a thing for me. This television show came out in 2002, but we know things about Allison Mack now, and I get weird Allison Mack now vibes.
I
from
didn't even
this
think about that.
scene. And it stresses me out.
it does.
So it makes it way worse for me because she was like grooming women for occult stuff,
this
and
is
I
triggering
feel
to you,
It
yeah.
is. I feel like she probably wasn't acting very hard here,
Oh.
and I
But
don't
know
like
if-
that.
I don't
She
know
was
if she
getting a-
was there yet.
Yeah, she
But-
probably hadn't.
We don't know.
Well, her audition tape was great.
And she was
Let's just,
Just
say
watch me in this one episode.
Yeah.
You'll love it.
she did a really good job. I mean, that was probably a fun scene for them to film. Maybe let's imagine it was innocent and
I hate when she smells her too. Oh, she gets up onto her and she's in a towel and she smells her hair. Oh, I can't.
It's gross.
I mean, girls do
Touches
smell
her
good when
shoulder.
they come out of the shower. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but we don't go up to each other and touch them and like take a big whiff. That's just creepy. That's
It's true.
That's a party foul.
Like, can you imagine like your friend who's like your best friend as a girl? You're a girl, okay? So this is for Nicole and Kim, and just imagine one of you does that to the other or something.
I'd be like, WTF?
Yeah, let's talk because that's not okay.
Like, we're roommates. Ah.
Yeah, I'm like, you have to see me naked. So if you're like lusting after me, I can't. That's not, no. Mm-mm. So yeah, I would confront that person. Brett, not so much.
So yeah, that was weird. But then we get back to the storm cellar, and Jonathan comes in.
Yay, real Jonathan! And he sees the ship is smoking. He saves Clark, and Clark's like, I gotta go!
And then,
Lana!
in case you didn't know what happened, they now out loud explain that the ship must have saved him somehow. You know,
I
like
do not remember this.
they're like, oh wow, the ship did that. You know, they kind of reiterated again verbally, even though they showed it already, which I don't think was necessary.
Yeah,
It wasn't a
'cause you already-
necessary line.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they would have said that, but you didn't have to put that on screen.
You mean
Like,
It was
they
just
could have
one
done it. They
scene
could have
for
done it
that.
later. I feel like as soon as Clark's necklace is now clear, get up and run. But
Well,
he's
yeah,
still
it
like
makes it
slowly
look like it took him a
untying
long time.
himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't
make
any
He's
sense.
Still affected. Yeah.
Like they could have had this moment later where they're talking and been like, "Yeah, the ship saved me." Moving on, but oh well.
So we go back to the Talon, and Lana's cleaning up, trying to close up, and who should show up but Clark? But
Tina
we're called
Clark.
Tina Clark.
Beige Clark.
Hey, Clark.
just like her personality.
And sadly, again, Lana gets a great kiss, sort of, by not Clark, but it is Clark in her mind, like with Red, when he was all hopped up on Red K.
when are they finally gonna kiss? And is it gonna be as good as these ones?
I ain't telling
I
you.
don't remember. I don't even remember.
You might be okay with what happens to their story. I don't know.
Might be.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Depends on how you feel about it. I just am always waiting for Lois, so I'm just like, okay, let's get through this.
I didn't like this kiss. It was very
It was
lippy
quick. It
and
was-
chewy.
Oh, it
weird.
was.
Like,
It
she
wasn't
was-
great.
they were
Well, and then
sticking
she
out
tries
their
to push
lips.
away, and Clark is definitely not stopping.
But then Clark, real Clark, comes to the
You
rescue.
mean blue and red?
The red, blue,
Clark?
blur.
Then it's Clark versus Clark, which is fun.
Really, really fun.
Spider-Man meme.
Yeah.
That's true. The thing that bothers me, why are they fighting in the alley again? And they're just throwing each other into this random like glass attachment to the building.
Remember, it used to be Nell's flower shop. It's
I
all the
know,
flowers.
but there's like a barrel of apples in there.
Okay, so can I tell you my thought process here?
Yeah.
I was like, so we know Clark will not kill Tina because
Right.
he does not kill.
Right.
So something's going to have to happen. And then right when I was thinking of that, she gets impaled. And I was like, oh.
The worst
Oh.
part. Take care of Lana.
Oh, I
And he's
thought
like,
that-
stop. People stop telling me that. Okay.
I actually thought the cringes was, I'm gonna kick your ass, Kent, because now that'll solve everything.
Imagine
Like
Tom Welling. Imagine Tom Welling doing this, right? He had to fight as one person, fighting a stunt double. Then he had to fight as the other. That's so fun.
back and forth and close-up shots.
So after this little impaled thing, which is kind of traumatic to see a human being get impaled, even if it was an
very
enemy.
gory. Yeah.
Clark goes back to the Kent farm and they're talking, and it looks like we've finally found out the truth about Whitney. It's explicitly stated, and it's pretty sad.
And Martha is heartbroken about it
Yeah.
because she is imagining if that was my son and he went
And
to the
she's
military.
probably friends with Whitney's mom.
Oh, absolutely. They're in the book club.
Secret Lives of Smallville Wives.
That's good. That's good.
Oh dear. So we do get this scene that Nicole was talking about where Clark is now questioning his own personal bravery. Like, if I weren't bulletproof, would I? I think he's already proven that and he's forgotten. Because do you remember in the episodes, very, very beginning of season 1, when he has his powers switched? And he goes and fights, even though he's fighting against his superior self,
Yes.
which is definitely an answer to his question.
Yeah, I agree.
So
He's already
good.
proven it, and this is a spoiler, but I'll say it. He proves it many times over.
Oh yes, he is going. Just you wait, Kim. There are multiple opportunities for Clark to prove that no matter what is happening with him and his strength, his powers, he will do what's right.
Oh, I love it.
Which is
So
why I
good.
love Superman. That is his truest and best power. Is that he will do what's right, regardless, no matter what it takes.
So our B plot
Okay,
scene.
B plot final scene. We have Lex going to Helen and really opening up and saying, I just don't want to become my father. Please help me. I really care about you. I want this to work. And then I just want to point out, it plays the song Mad World for them.
Yes.
I loved it.
I think I wasn't listening. I was just singing. Mad World.
Yes, you did. Everyone does.
Well, I really liked that song choice for when we dive into the next scene, which is Clark in the cave, and then Lana comes.
Oh,
And-
so good.
Her vulnerability and like her just saying, you know what, you're the only constant in my life.
I was like, finally.
I know. I thought it was great. Why in the cave, though?
Well, because
Not sure.
they will have sex in the cave one day. Or do they not?
I don't think they have sex in the cave.
Kim's like, wait, do they not?
No, we're just hopeful
It's a
for Nicole's
TV-14
cave sex.
show.
Well,
Nicole's cave sex fantasy one day.
so it's really funny.
Because of the echoes.
So the episode, oh gosh.
I stole that from Parks and Rec. I'm sorry.
Nicole and I are watching this, and she's got her little pen in her hand, and she's been taking notes. And she's watching the very last thing fade to black, where it's just them hugging. And she tosses up her pen, and she's like, "That's it. That's how it ends." She's
Why
like,
would... Okay, you have saved the girl that you've always loved. She's finally saying, you're always there for me. You're the best one. She embraces you.
and that's it.
Why are you not finally kissing?
Kiss her on the head. Touch her. Say words. Do something. They just stand there. Or does
They
he
are
just like...
hugging. Do they not hug?
Yeah, they're
No,
hugging.
they hug.
Oh.
But that's it.
But he doesn't say anything. Like...
So here's the question. Was the writer's intention that it wasn't leading directly into their relationship and that it was like, oh, a friend being a friend? Or was the writer's intention that it was leading into this relationship, romantic styles, but kind of failing? That's my question.
I thought it was a very baby step, right? We have how many seasons for them to finally get together? I thought they were like, we don't want to go too far. She's finally telling him how she feels. A hug. Only
Yeah,
a
because
hug.
it seems like that's something that
But
bugs
as
me.
teenagers, they'd be kissing.
But
Yeah,
it's a
true.
protective. It's a protector's hug. Like this is a like I'm gonna keep you safe. It's okay.
But this goes back to
Comfort
my
hug.
problem with a lot of TV shows is that you establish really early on this will they, won't they, and it takes 7 years
I hate it.
so I know
to
we've-
answer the question, and I hate when there would be no show without that.
Like Gilmore Girls.
Yes, that's what I hate about Gilmore Girls a lot, actually.
I've got a series that I think did it right. I know we've talked about the series wasn't all of your favorite, but The Flash. So Barry and Iris, after one season, they get together and that's it. They actually get married. Their relationship
I love
is
it
something
so
strong
much.
through the whole
Yes.
series. It's not a will they, won't they. It's a will they, won't they for a season when she's got somebody else. They resolve that and then they're together, period. And it doesn't become like this whole thing of the episode. They have storylines of like, in the relationship, but it's not, we aren't going to be together now. It's
Yeah, and I would say that if in the future, if Lois and Clark didn't get together in this show prior to the very end of the last season, I wouldn't have liked the ending of the show. I will tell you that you do get time of Lois and Clark in this show.
Yay.
That's what we're leading to. That's the whole point of it all, right? Is that we're kind of in this transistor period. What Lana really is for Clark is what Gwen Stacy is to Peter Parker. And I'm not saying that
The
like
starter wife.
yeah, she's his first love.
Which is a big one.
And everyone can have that. Some people stick with their first love. A lot of us don't. A lot of us have had multiple first loves.
Or we thought they were loves. And they
Yeah,
weren't.
and some of us have had true, like, man, I really loved that person. And that's fine.
And we've all had unrequited love. And we've all had
But
where
what-
someone loved us more and we didn't really like them back as much.
But what matters is who you marry, really, at the end. Who's your lifelong love. And, I've found that with Nicole. Clark will find that with Lois. And you get to see that in this show, which is great. And the way they do it, when they really, I don't know, you'll see that they kind of bring her in maybe a little too early or that they were waiting too long to get to it. But once they decide we're going to get to Lois and Clark, it's good.
Aw, do they get married?
I guess you'll have to see.
If they get married in Smallville, that'd be incredible. I
I can't wait.
wonder how they do things. I
Do
guess
what
we'll have to
things?
cave stuff.
Oh,
Cape Fantasies.
that's actually a big plot point of like season 6 and beyond.
The whole dilemma. How do I diddle?
Yeah,
It's actually a
control.
thing.
no, it's a real thing. It's
I
like
feel
okay, like because
A condom wouldn't hold it, you know.
that's not even that. It's
Either.
like how do I
Not
be
break her in
intimate with a
half.
crone without
Yeah,
breaking her in half? Like how
exactly.
do
It's
I
very
develop
Twilight.
that control?
How
It's
do I
very
not
Twilight.
bite her pillows?
That's pretty much the whole plot of a couple of Twilight books too.
Yeah.
Oh, why does Twilight exist?
Well, I didn't get to bring it up until now, so
You're welcome, listeners.
I think we've reached the twilight of this episode.
oh.
Oh, look what he did
Wait,
there.
was this episode Super or Man?
Oh, it's super.
I don't remember what we were talking about for the last hour. What episode was it?
Tina and Whitney.
Oh, it was Super.
It's a great recall. A great recall to season
Yeah.
1. It's a great recall to a villain. We get this the second time, and now the villain's gone for good.
So
Super.
I never disagree, but I'm gonna say it's Man. It doesn't carry. Okay, I guess it carries the Whitney plot point, but he could have just stayed
But like,
away.
if you did lift it out, we wouldn't really lose much, would we?
no,
It's true.
It would. To me, it's Man.
You're right.
I'd say it's a super filler.
Yeah.
So I call
like
this
it.
one a super one. If I'm watching through, I really think this is a fun way to like keep the continuity of the story moving along. I love that we get to close out Whitney's character. He dies a hero. That's awesome. We get to close off the Tina story for real. That's good. And we get to see Clark face himself. We get to see Clark overcome and really put a period on that stupid necklace.
True.
There's a couple things where I'm like, I actually really think this is a fun one. If you've gone through, and we did call Tina an episode, we called that one a super episode in season 1. If you had that a super in season 1, you should have this as a super in season 2.
I agree.
I just had a thought. So she takes on what they look like. What if she took on everything about them? So like she can't be killed.
like
either.
Mystique, that would be
Oh,
cool.
that would be cool.
Dun, dun,
Write some
dun.
fanfic for us.
I'm sure there's some fan fiction out there somewhere. But on that bombshell, we will be done with Tina Greer.
Bye bye.
Bye, Whitney.
Bye.
I love you, military.
Thank you for remembering Smallville with us. Join us next week when...
We have another double feature.
Where Clark writes a paper.
And Jonathan steals a truck from a dead man.
Somebody save me. I mean, save me from not having enough money. So please like and subscribe and comment so that the YouTube gods will pay me.
4 friends on a mission. Daniel, Nicole, Brad, and Kim. Talking Smallville every week. The podcast to gem. Smallville nights we laugh out loud. Every week they make us proud. Daniel, Nicole, Brad, and Kim. In the world we find our thrill. Heroes fly and legends grow. Stories shared, they make it flow. From Clark Kent to Lexus schemes, they uncover every dream. Smallville nights we laugh out loud. Every week they make us proud. Daniel, Nicole, Brad, and Kim. In the world we find our thrill. You're watching tales of old. Their voices pure gold. Every twist, every turn. With them there's much to learn. Smallville nights we laugh out loud. Every week they make us proud. Daniel, Nicole, Brad, and Kim. In the world